First, I headed to the Dollar Tree and picked up a beige trash can from the plus section, as well as some floral foam blocks and a cake carrier. Next, I took the bottom portion of the cake carrier, making sure it was right side up, and marked the center. Then I measured 2 inches to the right of the center mark and then 2 inches to the left. I used an awl to make a hole on each mark, then used scissors to create an X to open the hole more. I threaded a piece of Dollar Tree nautical rope through one hole and tied a knot on the other side. Next, I cut the floral foam into smaller squares using a serrated knife, then hot glued 4 of those pieces to the top of the lid where the handle is. I then placed the new lid onto the trash can and began cutting individual stems from the greenery bunch. Once each piece was cut, I trimmed the topmost leaves, leaving about an inch of the stem exposed on the top. Then I started sticking the stems into the floral foam all around the outer edge. I continued to do this process until everything was filled in. Up next, I worked on stripping the paint from a small wooden stool I thrifted by applying a coat of citrus strip, then placing a piece of plastic wrap on top and allowing it to sit for about 30 minutes. Then I scraped as much paint off as I could, then repeated the process a couple more times. Once the stool was dry, I used an orbital sander to remove as much of the remaining paint as possible, then went in with a little hand sanding. I used some white house paint to paint the base of the stool, then stained the top of the stool with some dark stain. Now I have a cute faux planter trash can that not only is super cute, but it's also functional. I hope this tutorial inspires you to turn a boring trash can into a faux planter that is a great functional piece of decor.
I picked up this wire laundry basket on Amazon. I am taking this outside where it's nice and airy, and I'm just going to add a couple coats of paint. Painting the wire can be a little bit difficult. You need to paint it from the inside and out, so I'm just going to take my time and add a couple of coats. So I picked up one of these wood rounds from the craft store. They're $10 to $15 if you get them on sale. The first thing I did was sand it all down, and now I'm going to add a wood stain. I chose a light gray. It's going to blend really well with the black wire down below. Once I've achieved the color that I want, I am just going to take this cloth and wipe off any excess stain that's on the wood. To protect this wood and help it hold up to whatever use I put it through, I'm going to add a clear stain. This is a satin water-based sealer, and I'm just going to apply very thin coats with the grain of the wood over the entire piece. Again, making sure I get the sides too. Okay, so now that the wood and the metal base are dry, so I'm going to take this wood round and flip it over. Then I'm going to take my basket and put it on top of the wood round upside down. Now I want to add some stoppers to the wood round so that when that wood is on top of the table, it doesn't slide around and it's a nice sturdy end table. So I'm just using a Sharpie to mark 5 dots on here where I want to put my stoppers. The stoppers that I'm using are actually feet for furniture. So they just pound in normally to the bottom of chairs, but they're going to pound into the wood. You could also use adhesive rubber feet if you have those as well, but you want something on here so that the wood doesn't move around. Okay, it's time to put it together. I am putting this in my living room to store blankets. It is great for cold weather, so we can just grab the blankets we need. It's also going to store a couple pillows. When I set the wood round on top of it, it is nice and sturdy. I can put a plant on here, books, a lamp, whatever I need, but that I'm still able to pull that round off and use it as storage. I hope this inspired you to go make your own wire and wood table for far less than you can buy them online.
We all need toilet bowl plungers accessible, but we don't like to look at them. The first thing I'm doing is straightening the pool noodle. I'm cutting the pool noodle to slightly longer than the length of the plunger handle. With a small wooden dowel cut to size, I'm twisting it to push through one side of the pool noodle. Now I'm choosing a flower pot that fits the size of the plunger bottom. The flower pot opening is being placed on top of some foam core board, then traced and cut so it fits along the inside ridge of the flower pot. I'm using both an X-Acto knife, then scissors to get the fit just right. Now I'm placing the pool noodle in the middle of the foam core circle, tracing the shape and cutting it out so the bottom of the pool noodle can slip snugly through it. I'm placing them both inside the pot to check the fit and trimming where needed. then setting it down on a paper-covered floor since this next step is quite messy. Using some expanding insulating spray foam, I'm spraying the top of the pool noodle to create a small rounded mound on top. I'm also spraying some foam onto plastic shaped like rounded raindrops. I added an extra layer to achieve the roundness. Now that the foam is dry, I'm rounding off the top of the pool noodle foam with a large knife so it has a smooth dome transition to the original pool noodle. Using an X-Acto knife, I'm cutting long slits from top to bottom about an inch apart and making 2 additional cuts on each side angled towards the center cut. The triangle shapes are being removed, so I'm left with slightly rounded pointy ridges along all sides of the pool noodle resembling a cactus. You'll want the ridges a little on the thinner side. Next, I'm making cactus arms. The smaller foam pieces are being further shaped into teardrop shapes with one rounded end. Using a knife, then I'm cutting and shaping them with the same kind of ridges. Next, I'm stirring some drywall compound and adding a little water to help soften it up, then icing all the cactus shapes from top to bottom. I found a skim coat on the foam, followed by even more coverage worked best. Once the compound completely covers the cactus, I'm dipping a paintbrush into water, then brushing the compound to smooth out the texture. I'm using the same treatments on the cactus arms as well, so they match. Now that the top coat is dry after about 3 days, it's time to paint the cactus. I'm using 2 tones of green called Park Bench and Conservatory by Fusion Mineral Paint to simulate realistic cactus colors. The large cactus and smaller shapes are being completely painted in the darker green first. Once dry, I'm brushing on the lighter green along each ridge, then spraying it with water and blending the light green into the dark green with a paintbrush. Just remember, if you don't get it right the first time, you can always repaint and try again. You'll get the hang of it very quickly. Now I'm creating faux sand by mixing 2 paint tones into a sandy tone, then adding Fresco by Fusion Mineral Paint, which is a texturizing powder, until I get a thicker oatmeal texture. With the pot temporarily removed, I'm dabbing the texture mixture onto the foam core surrounding the cactus until I get a lumpy look that resembles real sand. More is better this round. To add a little more detail to the sand, I'm splattering on 2 tones of watery brown paint by flicking the paintbrush against a finger. Now I'm weathering the clay pot by painting it with a watered down coat of raw silk, then spraying it with water and wiping most of it off, leaving a lime washed look. With the big cactus now inside the flower pot, I'm cutting the ends of each cactus arm to shape it to the big cactus, then inserting small wooden sticks into each. Hot glue is being used to secure the arms to the body. I'm now touching up any paint that got knocked off. To create cactus prickles, I'm cutting bristles off a chip brush onto a sheet of paper. Using a paintbrush, I'm dabbing generous Mod Podge spots along the ridges of the cactus body and arms, then sticking the bristles on top. And you are left with a whimsical and impossibly cute cactus that completely hides the toilet bowl plunger until you need it. Simply lift the cactus to grab the plunger. I love how realistic this cactus looks thanks to those added prickles and its sandy desert-style base. Adding a few rocks and some Spanish moss makes it look like the real thing. And since most bathrooms don't have exceptional light for real plants, this gives you the look without watering a thing. I hope this inspires you to grab a pool noodle to hide your own toilet bowl plunger with a one-of-a-kind cactus of your own.
Grab a wire basket and a metal wreath hanger from the dollar store. Squeeze and press in the bottom of the wire basket until there's a flattened, indented base. Reach for a metal wreath hanger and bend it so it curves into place. Check where you want to position the handle and add glue to the spots that will attach to the wire basket. Secure and hold the handle in place and allow it to set. Paint and coat the entire handle in black chalk paint. Grab a hold of a metal tag from the dollar store and paint it with the same black chalk paint that you've painted the rest of the piece with. Adhere some metal letters spelling cafe and adhere some jewel studs to the tag. Then adhere the tag to the front of the basket. Add some finishing touches by covering up the glue residue with some black paint. And now you have a basket from the dollar store turned into a cute large cup-shaped coffee pod holder. I hope this inspires you to create your own dollar store kitchen decor.